Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to some Toronto Raptors news, Riker, and there's been a wave of it. We were out of commission one day, and I had the vax, and I was just completely gone. So you posted a couple of TikToks, but Riker, we got hit with a wave, so we're reacting to probably the biggest news, or maybe the second biggest news. The Masai Ujiri video will be coming out tomorrow, but we have official word on what the return for Kyle Lowry will be, and as speculated, as suggested in trades, never officially reported though. We are getting back Goran Dragic and Precious Achiuwa from the Miami Heat, not sending them to Dallas, and it's made official by the Raptors Instagram. They posted this picture of Precious and this picture of Goran Dragic. Got to pronounce his name correctly now that he's on the Toronto Raptors. But Riker, now that it's official,
Dragic.
Dragic. We were flamed a little bit in the comment section. People took it a bit too personally that we were calling him Dragic, so Dragic is the name. But what are your thoughts on this official return? We're not getting someone back from Dallas, but it's the guys that were rumored from the start.
It's weird though, because I guess I saw a dated report that Dragic was still interested in going to Dallas to unite or reunite with Doncic. So I guess again it was dated unless there's going to be some more maneuvers. But when the Toronto Raptors are posting pictures, then it's pretty legit that at least you're likely to start the season with those two guys. So while people might be a little bit discouraged that we brought in two undersized centers, so now we have Achiuwa and Khem Birch. That was another big signing for us. And now Dragic, who is, this is going to be hard for the first couple of pronunciations, who's a bit older, who's on a bigger contract, but it is only a 1 year. I know people aren't overly impressed by this, but now that we can step back, look at the team, I'm still happy with this. This is a return for Kyle Lowry, who otherwise would have just left without any remuneration, and these are two guys who are still serviceable, still playable, and probably fit well within this team, Ben.
Yeah, and I guess we can talk about the Achiuwa pickup first, because you mentioned how they're undersized centers. Khem Birch and Achiuwa, we signed Khem Birch back, and that he'll get his own video and his long-term contract that he signed officially, but Precious Achiuwa, he's a guy that's undersized, yes, but he is a big guy. He was only a rookie last season, so it usually takes rookies a little while to develop in the NBA. 6'8", 225 pounds, but he's drawn comparisons to Bam Adebayo, who he played behind there in Miami. He's an energy big. I know a lot of people in the Raptors comment sections were associating him with another Masai Ujiri draft pick in Kenneth Faried, right? Just hyper energy, gets a lot of rebounds, can guard the paint, can protect the rim, and I really like Precious Achiuwa in his potential for development at the center position. Sure, he's undersized and you can't teach height, but you can't really teach hustle either. You can't teach someone that gets every rebound, that can protect the rim due to verticality, blocking shots, getting to the right places. And as I mentioned on our previous video with where Precious Achiuwa is brought up, this isn't like moving OG to the center and then you're taking away one of your best wing defenders and just forcing him to guard a big. Achiuwa is a natural big man. And yes, he's listed as a power forward out on Basketball Reference and stuff, but he played center for the Miami Heat. That was really his true position when he was out there. He was guarding the big man. He was guarding the Joel Embiids of the world, the Andre Drummonds, and he did a really solid job looking back at all the highlights. And as I've kept saying, the more I look into Achiuwa, the more hyped up I am about him, Riker. And I guess the real question mark we should have going into next season, obviously with the waiving of Baines, our former starting center, who do you think will start at the big man position between Precious and Khem Birch?
Khem Birch, easy. No debate, no contemplation. He played last season. He already has a little bit of run with the Toronto Raptors. He's a little bit more experienced in the NBA, and he potentially has a more developed three-point shot than Achiuwa. Now, I know we love to just pick centers that have never shot from the three-point line, even in a practice game in their entire life, and get them to shoot threes during a game. So maybe Achiuwa won't take long to drink the Kool-Aid on that respect as well. But I think it's a safe bet to say Khem Birch is going to start the season at the center. But Ben, this is the concern that I have. I know you ran back the tapes. You're looking at these guys, but both of them are about 6'8", 6'9". Joel Embiid's true 7 foot, 7'1". Antetokounmpo true 6'10", 6'11". They're both Khem Birch and Achiuwa, 225 pounds ish. Embiid's 280. So just picture five guarding somebody 5-6 inches taller than you, 60 pounds heavier than you. Again, it's not a perfect comparison because athleticism plays a big part. If you can jump, if you can box out, if you can rebound, then the size is a little bit less of an issue. But I'm still concerned that we're not going to match up properly against teams that have true NBA bigs. So that's my hesitation with this team.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that you can maybe combat that with is in today's NBA, mobility is essential. People that can switch, can guard the pick and rolls. And if even a guy like Achiuwa, where obviously he's lighter, and I'm expecting him to put on a bit of weight because it was his rookie season. It usually takes a rookie, a guy that was 19, 20 years old, to a couple years to put on that muscle, and I'm sure he's put in the work. Everyone from the Miami Heat organization that's been talking about him says he's improving rapidly every day, the same way we used to talk about Siakam and all those guys in the 905. Obviously, the Heat have a similar development system to the Toronto Raptors, where their guys are always improving. But if he puts on that muscle the same way Bam Adebayo did, it took him a couple of years to come into his own, this could be a really essential piece. And the same way Bam can guard those big centers in the league, even if you're a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, if you can sort of, you're mobile, but you can weigh yourself down, get that center of gravity a little bit lower than those other teams, then you're harder to push around. You and I know that, Riker, from playing with Team Newfoundland, always having to guard someone 6-7 inches taller than us, right? If you can just put your center of gravity down lower than people, then usually you can get it done. But yeah, the height advantage, we'll see how it plays out. I like that they're actually true centers rather than wings that are just kind of forced up to play the center position, like a Chris Boucher, a Pascal Siakam. They're meant to be power forwards, wing guys, and then they were playing out of position.
If I see a single lineup with Chris Boucher as center at any point during this season, I will be upset. You just expect it. I'm calling it. It's going to be just pure frustration on the podcast.
Against some teams, it's fine.
But he's a proper four, Ben. Why do we need to take somebody and put them out of position where they don't thrive as much when you put him at the four, you let him be
You're saying ever.
Stretch
You're
four.
saying ever.
He's splashing threes. He's guarding a guy that's about his size. His length is disruptive. You don't have to have him draining his energy, banging down the low block. I mean, Chris Boucher he's meant to be a power forward. So hopefully Khem Birch and Achiuwa are ready to take the load. But Dragic, talk about him a little bit too. Nickname, the Dragon, super cool nickname. And this guy, what criticisms you might have towards older players, you get back and at least they have experience in how to score. And I think that that's going to be a valuable asset coming off the bench. Have a guy that knows how to get a shot up, that can be a veteran, lead the bench mob if that's how we're going to rock. It seems like we might have a 10-man rotation next season, especially with having young guys, newer guys that we're looking to develop. So I'm looking at Goran Dragic being a guy that he might be able to actually lead this young group of guys that we've drafted, Ben.
Yeah, no, that's definitely for sure. Coming off the bench, being a playmaker, a facilitator coming off there. Obviously, he'll be playing alongside Malachi Flynn, but as you said, a savvy player that gets buckets. Sure, he's older, and sure, he's dealt with some injuries recently, but with the Toronto Raptors medical staff and really a team that has a lot of pieces, I think people are underrating the depth on this roster right now. He can come in and sort of not have the pressure put on him the same way he did in Miami, where they had guys like Nunn, they had guys like Jimmy Butler that really didn't take the load. And then when the playoffs come around, when big games come around, he could be one of the guys that are in your top 5 with his three-point shooting ability, his ability to create, get to the rim. He really does everything on the offensive end that you could ask out of any player that you're bringing in, especially if they're coming off the bench. And people are talking about, Dragic is trash. Dragic is trash. He's old, he's washed, and people are underrated. Like 1 year ago, this guy was the second best player or third best player on an NBA Finals team, right? That can't be taken away from a guy, despite his age, despite all these things. And the Raptors, they kind of had a positional need, especially losing a Bembry, losing a Paul Watson, to bring in a player to play that backup shooting guard position, right? We have Fred VanVleet, we have Gary Trent Jr., we have Malachi Flynn, but other than that, our guard depth is not really there. We'll see what Wainwright, and we'll break a whole video down on him coming tomorrow the next day. But he's 6'5", pretty long though, a 7'3" wingspan. We expect him to be more of a big dude, football player, but we expect him to be more of a wing center, so to speak, in terms of just aggressiveness. And I don't know if that's going to be a new position, but that seems like it's going to be the case with a lot of our guys on this team. A lot of guys between the heights of 6'9" and 6'5" that with long arms that can play big and play small. But he's really Dragic is really that fourth guard that we have on this roster, and especially where Fred VanVleet has dealt with some injuries in the past. So we don't know with Malachi Flynn when he gets big minutes or whatnot. Right, just having a veteran presence to give you that extra bit of depth, it's essential on this team to going forward, especially once you hit the playoffs. And it's a very tradable asset, $19 million, especially if he has a good season. Ryker, someone pops up at the trade deadline, that could be a cool contract to send back to another team.
Absolutely, Ben. But if we don't dump him, 38% from three. He's going to come in, shoot 6 threes off the bench and knock down almost 3 of them per game, get you 4.5 assists. Again, be a veteran that I could see leading the bench mob. I know we're going to look for scoring in Malachi Flynn and Boucher and some of our other guys, but he could be a solid fixture there. Yeah. On Ishmael Wainwright, I know we're going to do a full podcast about him, but I'm just thinking too, is he might steal my heart because my favorite layup move in playing basketball is to do the old tuck, just keep it low, tucked into the arm, come up last second. With the CFL or NFL, it was Buffalo Bills. With his football carrying abilities, if we don't see at least some kind of protection up finishes, I'll be disappointed. But yeah, what do you think's most likely to happen?
I think I can see us keeping
Dragic.
I could see him being good for us.
I didn't even finish the question, Ben.
Okay.
What if I was going to go off the rails? What if I was going to go and say, or trade him to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis? Then it would have been obvious. But will we play the full season with him? You beat me to it.
Yeah, I think he could surprise a lot of Raptors fans. And if you really wanted to take it off the rails, Ryker, Kyle Lowry and Goran Dragic were on the same team on the Houston Rockets. And do you know who started on that team?
Oh. No.
Dragic started over Lowry when two.
Oh, it was just together. The two of them. I thought there was going to be a third guy.
Well, Aaron Brooks was there a little bit, I think. But there's a lot of guys coming in through that Rockets roster. But maybe we're taking players from that Rockets team. Then we get Brooks in a couple of years. That could be the real savory part. Maybe Dragic is going to come in and be the greatest Raptor of all time, step it up over Lowry, lead us to a couple chips. I don't know. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but people like to take these exaggerated takes seriously. So if you don't agree, Dragic is going to be the greatest Raptor of all time, sound off in the comments below. And Ryker, what number is Dragic going to wear? Because he's not wearing number 7 with Lowry gone.
Can we get decimals? 7.5?
That'd be culture. Raptors throwing some decimals in there, but yeah, I think Dragic will stay. I think he'll be a fixture off the bench where he can shoot, as you mentioned, he can pass, he can assist, and he's savvy enough to where even if his athleticism is waned, even if the Raptors medical staff can't get him back to full form, he'll be an asset going forward into the playoffs this year, especially on a 1-year contract. He's an expiring deal. The Raptors will be able to make something happen with him, especially in Nick Nurse offense. Ryker, do you have any last takes on Dragic?
I have a last question.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. It's a question for you, though. You think that the Raptors, you got flame for it, they're going to be 4th seed in the East next season, that you've made that take, you've locked it in. Who would be the bigger impact player at the end of the year for getting to that 4th seed in this trade, Achiuwa or Dragic?
I think Achiuwa maybe, because he's really one of 2 centers on this roster. We'd ideally like to see him develop maybe at a quicker pace than he needed to in Miami, just because they had Bam down there, and I guess they had Olynyk for a while, but he got traded. But they have more center depth on that squad, whereas the Raptors are really looking forward to having a couple guys that can actually play that position this season, which we only really had one of last year with Kem Birch, and that was only for the second half of the year. So I might say Achiuwa, but when it comes down to it, who are you going to rely upon? A second-year player that was pretty raw coming into the season, or a veteran guy that, sure, he's might dealt with some injuries, but has been through the thick of it, been an NBA Finals competitor, been in the playoffs year after year. I think Dragic will be more important as the playoffs hit, but over the course, the stretch of the regular season, the haul that people think it's going to be a mess in this year's Eastern Conference, Achiuwa is probably night in, night out going to be more important for this roster, but I'll throw that back to you because I think it's dependent on how you look at it.
Yeah, Dragic will jump off the page for you more. It'll look like he's doing more for the team, but we said time and time again last season that the Raptors were only a center away from being mid playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Mid rankings.
We were mid playoffs
in the playoff
before we
picture.
got hit with health and safety protocols, and we were starting Aaron Baines at that point.
And we were starting Aaron Baines. So while you might not see Precious Achiuwa's hustle and rebounds and boxing out and defense, I mean, that will count for probably 10 to 15 extra wins next season. And it's not going to show up, though, on the box score the same way that a good night for Dragic will. So I would agree with you on your initial gut reaction, Achiuwa. So I'm not disappointed by this. You know, it's not the flashiest trade. It's not the most exciting trade. You might feel like we're trading down, but it's a good return, and it'll be fun to watch this season.
Yeah, and I think this was a very nice return for a Kyle Lowry sign trade where he could have certainly walked for nothing. And sure, Hero was the guy that's flashier name that everyone wanted initially, but we've been swayed. We like Achiuwa and we like Dragic, so it's going to be cool. I'm really high on this Raptors team going forward, and we have a lot of news to break down. So subscribe to Raptors Digest. We're on the road to 20K subscribers. We did get a video out yesterday, but we're so used to like 2, 3, 4 videos a day, Riker, since the free agency. It felt like we took a day off where I was just completely dead due to the backs. But we're coming around now, and bunch of vids will be coming out tomorrow. So subscribe to Raptors Digest. We're almost there at 20K, but you're the best mate as far as Instagram, TikTok. Riker, you have any last words on Goran Dragic or Precious Achiuwa?
Goran Dragic. That's it, Ben. Cheers.